Just read go.
All right. Well, we hit the record button, so we might as well get going. Hello. Welcome to Santa's Magical Fellowship Group. I am your guest host for the evening. I am Matt Spaulding. Thank you, Mel, for putting the call out for guest hosts to chat. Just for anybody that didn't catch in the group earlier today, we're gonna be talking about creating stories and creating backstories. Welcome, Kathy is about to join us, so that's very exciting. Um, last night I know that the as this is being recorded, I know the Kringle brothers had a fabulous piece on improv, and improv is very, very important because you're never going to be able to control every information, every situation, and you're not going to have everything figured out beforehand. Stuff will come up, but there is a lot of good in having everything that you can have figured out beforehand, kind of figured out. And that's where backstory comes in. Oh, more people are coming in. I'm gonna kind of, hello, Kathy. Good to hear from you. Glad you're here. I'm gonna try and there's more folks coming in. So
Hey,
before
Matt,
I,
can you make Michael co-host as well? I can't seem to make him co-host because I don't have.
yeah, where'd he go on my screen? There he is.
Thank you.
Michael, make co-host. Yes. Awesome. So yes, welcome. The new folks that joined since I began, which we did start, oh, goodness gracious me. Trying to keep up with everybody coming in. So yes, just for everybody coming in just now, hey, I'm Matt, and I'm going to be talking about backstory. And Matt, why should we listen to you talk about creating backstory and crafting story? Well, for those of you who don't know me, I majored in creative writing. So I do have a background in creative writing and crafting story. I also read 35 to 50 books a year, depending on the year and the size of the books I'm reading that year and what life throws at me. So that, and I also watch a lot of movies. Movies are kind of my hobby. So story is basically something I think a whole lot about all the time. And also, just for anybody that doesn't know, I thought about my backstory so much that last year I turned my backstory into a book. This is my book. It just barely got published this year, a couple weeks ago. It is called Santa in His Own Words by Santa Claus with help from Matt Spaulding. This is a historical fantasy Christmas, obviously, book about the life of Santa Claus. This is basically 216, 17, 18 pages about my backstory that I kind of came up with. Um, in my everyday life, I am a mail carrier. I spend about 6 hours a day with nothing to think about but whatever I want because I am just out there by myself with nobody to talk to. So I think a lot about story. Go figure, which is kind of why I'm here talking about it tonight. So, why is it important to kind of think about? The other thing I'm going to talk about besides creating your backstory is how you can create your own stories because we are sort of an open source art form. One of the things I see a lot in Santa Claus groups is the question, what are good stories to tell? What stories should I tell? What do you guys talk about? You can make your own things. I mean, there's a lot of good stories that already exist out there and they are wonderful to tell. I tell a lot of them myself, but if you find yourself lacking for material, you can create it yourself, which is awesome. And so I'll talk a little bit about how uh, kind of anything can be a story. Now, I've said this term backstory quite a bit, and that is just basically because when you are Santa Claus, you are creating a character. Um, one of the sayings I see a lot in our community is, I'm not playing Santa, I am Santa. No, you're playing Santa. And to be able to do that, to be able to be this character, you need to know who that character is to you. So the way I would, how many people know a lot about their own North Pole? How many people have put a lot of thought into it, know lots of details about it? I see a couple hands go up. Okay. Um, None of you need to do it to the tune of 218 pages. That's a lot. Like I said, I'm alone with my thoughts all day. I had a lot of time to think about this. It took me about a year to research and write it. But you should know some things, because once you know some things about creating your character, you can have lots and lots of stuff to talk about with the kids. So, for example, I'll just say, like, think about, some of the common questions Santa might get. Santa, why do you live at the North Pole? Really think about that question. And even, you don't have to do it now, obviously, do it in your spare time, but think about it. Why do I live at the North Pole? Write it down. Take some notes. Why do I live at the North Pole? I'll tell you, my Santa lived a lot of places before he lived at the North Pole. Santa was born in the country that is now Turkey. At the time, it was called Lycia. He moved up into Central Europe, where he spent a lot of time in the Black Forest, which is where he first came into contact with the elves. The elves then they decided they wanted to move out of the Black Forest in search of an elfin promised land named Alfheim. In searching for Alfheim, they moved to the country of Finland. If you know anything about the country of Finland, you will know that in Finland, they consider themselves the official home of Santa Claus, not the North Pole. They lived at the top of a mountain called Korvatortuni in I believe I pronounced that right, in the city of Rovaniemi, and then moved to Iceland, and then finally found Alfheim at the North Pole, where, as the prophecy said, the North Star no longer lie in the north, it lied directly overhead. That's the story I came up with. And, I might not even have to necessarily tell children all of that story. It's in my book, but Santa, why do you live at the North Pole? We were looking for a place that um, we could do all of our work without anybody ever coming to visit. It's not that we don't like visitors, it's just that we're so busy all the time that so, but I know that about my character. So that is something I could do. Or if you want to stop and think about more backstory, Santa, how come you're always dressed in red? Well, I didn't always wear red. I used to wear a lot of different colors. In fact, the very first coat I ever got made to go out on a Christmas Eve, it was actually green with brown fur. But in the year is escaping me right now. 19 oh, I could look it up real quick. But anyway, the point is, in my backstory, Santa accidentally wakes up a young 6-year-old boy named Hayden Sunblom on Christmas Eve. That Christmas Eve, he happened to be wearing a red and white coat. Hayden grew up to be a very, very good painter and was hired by the Coca-Cola company to paint Christmas Coca-Cola ads. And Hayden painted me the way he remembered me, which was in red and white. And not wanting to disappoint any children from then on out who might catch me on Christmas Eve, I just started wearing red and white every year so that they wouldn't be disappointed when they met me that I didn't look like my very popular paintings. So when I say just kind of think about backstory, just kind of start with questions. How does this? Why do this? Why do you wear red? Why do you live at the North Pole? Um, you know, um, that is kind of your way into thinking about your character. And the same can go for, Santas and Mrs. Clauses can have the story. How did you meet Mrs. Claus? Well, I was actually in the city of Bordeaux, France, and I was at an outdoor market going to buy some delicious grapes. And I bought them and I turned around and I bumped into this person. And of course, my grapes went everywhere, their groceries went everywhere, and I bent down to pick up their groceries for them, and they bent down at the same time, and we bumped heads and both fell backwards onto the ground. And when I looked up, it was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life. And I was very embarrassed that I had knocked this lady's groceries everywhere and that I had also bumped into her head with my head because I knew it hurt me, so it must have hurt her too. So I got very embarrassed and I started going, oh, I could barely speak. I was so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to. And she was so kind and understanding. She said to me, oh, it's okay. It was just such bad timing. Here, I'll help you. We can pick up each other's things. And after that, I wanted to see her again. So I asked her if we could go for a walk. And so think about Mrs. Claus. How'd you meet Santa? Santa, how'd you meet Mrs. Claus? What's your wedding anniversary? That one's really easy. If you are married, just use your own wedding anniversary. Mine, June 21st. We got married June 21st. Um, what's Mrs. Claus's first name? Mrs. Claus's? Maybe you want Mrs. Claus to have a different name than your own. Mrs. Claus for me, just Leanne. That's my wife's name. It's a good name. It comes from the French name Julienne. I met Mrs. Claus in Bordeaux, France. Just Leanne. Mrs. Claus is Leanne. So, it's just as simple as that, which brings me to the next part, which can be you can get story ideas from anywhere. The world is just full of ideas, and each one of you, even though you might not think of yourself this way, you're a creative person. You're already performing. You're already very, very creative. So, who here has grandkids or once upon a time had kids that were young kids? I'm assuming most folks here, grandkids or had children that were young at one point. Yeah. Um, get a lot of elf stories out of children. A lot of elf stories. Think of something really funny that your grandkid did once or your own child. Suddenly that's a story about an elf or any family member, really. I'll tell you one Christmas, this is true story. Christmas Day, my dad decided that our house didn't smell Christmassy enough, and we had a real Christmas tree at the time. We weren't a fake Christmas tree household. My dad went and got his little plant snippers so he could start snipping branches off the tree to kind of release some of that Christmas tree smell. Christmas Day, snipping the tree, my dad cut a strand of wires in half and the tree went out. That could be an elf story. All of a sudden, whatever, Waldhar, he's one of my elves. Waldhar is the elf. He built the very first sleigh. He's built all my sleighs since. He's a very handy guy. But one Christmas morning, when I got home and we were having Christmas celebrations at the North Pole, Waldhar decided, you know what? That tree smells kind of gone. I'm gonna snip some of these branches off. Next thing you know, there's no lights on our Christmas tree. Of course, it's Christmas Day. We're already out of Christmas lights. We used them all up for the year. Can you imagine? We had to run to the workshop and make more Christmas lights on Christmas Day for our Christmas tree. So, anything, anything can be a story. And in fact, you know, um, you want to use your life because part of the reason you want to use your life is you can get more authenticity out of using your life. Take things out of your life and make them Christmassy. Take other interests of yours and make them Christmassy. And actually, now I'm going to share a couple things with you. And I'm going to tell you what they are. And then I'm going to have somebody tell me if they can figure out why I said these can turn into a story. So, first, let's see. All right. What I've got up here is this is a scene from a superhero film called X-Men Days of Future Past. And I just want you to all to watch this. It's brief, but then we're going to talk about what sort of inspiration I might have gotten from this particular scene.
Nobody's having technical difficulty showing this film. It's like going in.
All right. Nothing to do with Christmas or Santa Claus, right? Anybody have any idea what I took out of that relates to Christmas? And you can feel free to unmute yourself and speak up if you do. Otherwise,
I think it's having to do with how it takes Santa one night to go all over the world.
yes. Luis, what else you got?
He can slow down time or freeze time.
Yes. So basically the character featured in this scene is a character called Quicksilver, and Quicksilver is a super speedster. He moves extremely fast, and as you can see at the end there with all the havoc, that was real time. Nobody in the room saw all of the things happen that we saw in the slow-mo scene running up to it. To them, it was a second of bang, everything is chaos. But he moved around. He moved bullets. He threw plates. He got the guy to punch himself in the face. Santa, how come I never see you on Christmas Eve? Even if I stay up, how come I can't see you? Because I'm in and out of your house so fast. You can't even see me be there. If you blinked, your presence would be under the tree and you wouldn't have seen me be there. That's what I took out of that one. Now, I got one more I want to share with you. I just got to all right, this next one. Let's see. I'll hit share. Same thing. This one is also pretty short. This one is from the 1990 TV show The Flash. Also a story about a superhero who moves really fast. All right, and then I'm going to skip ahead just a few seconds here. All right. So that was another thing that completely unrelated to Christmas or Santa Claus. I took something out of it. Anybody have any idea what I showed you this one here for? I'll give you a hint. Earlier this week or late last week, Mel shared a funny thing on her Facebook that said, you know, when sites say we use cookies to improve performance, so do I, computer, so do I. If you'll notice in this scene, Barry Allen, the Flash, he did all that running on the treadmill and then he sorted the, cards very quickly. Blood sugar dropped. He went out, he ate 5 large pizzas. Santa, how do you eat all those cookies in one night? Boy, you look awful good, Santa, for somebody that eats 1 billion cookies in one night. Have to. I have to eat all those cookies. I'm moving so fast and I'm expending so much energy. And for an adult, you can talk about calories and all that, but for kids, same idea. I got the idea because kids always say to me, and they probably say to you too, Santa, I'm going to leave you cookies. "Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate cookies. I get so hungry on Christmas Eve. You know how when you go out and you play and you run around and you play soccer or tag or football with your friends and you feel real hungry afterward? I feel that way all of Christmas Eve. Santa Boris says this Santa needs sugar-free cookies. Hey, man, it's all calories. So, Santa doesn't need the sugar. Santa needs the calories. And that's what I took. This is what I'm talking about when I say, you can have just about anything you like turn into a story and part of your character as you go about and try to think of what you want to talk to children about. Mel, I got your message. I don't see her on my screen. That was the easiest way for me to respond to you without writing back to you because I was so when she gets here, I'll remember to make her co-host. So, besides the idea of just anything can be a story. All right, anything can be a story. Take notes on a lot of these things. Write them down. You don't have to necessarily be a great writer. You don't necessarily have to be looking to write a novel or a kid's book or anything like that. You just need, if you take notes, you'll remember them and you can work things out that way. When you sit down and you think about, well, what will make this better? And when you start to think about the story and you start writing down the details, you'll remember those details better as well. I, you know, I'm not very good at necessarily coming up with elf names on the fly, but I have a whole bunch of elves up here because I wrote them all down. I got Lars, Waldhar, Ermenlinda, Kylo, Naki, Adelgard. I've got Snailog. I've got all kinds of elves just that are up here because I started writing them down, and that way I could remember them more. And that way I have my own set of elves up here. And your elves can be whatever you want. I invented a whole version of Elvish, quote unquote, invented by just finding words in Icelandic and Scandinavian, or Finnish, Norwegian, and a few other languages. I changed letters in them. I changed, all kinds of stuff. And just turn them into elvish names. But you could have whatever kind of elves you want. You could have elves that are named Judy, Bernard, Curtis, stuff like that. You could have Gumdrop, Peppermint, whatever elves you want, but just kind of have an idea of who they are. It really helps if you want to tell stories or create stories about them. Kind of come up with, here is my elf that is the most handy elf at the North Pole. I have Waldhar, like I said earlier. Waldhar, he built the sleigh. Waldhar figured out how the key that I can get into all the homes that don't have chimneys with. He figured that out. That was his discovery. I have Kailaki and Nilo, the reindeer handlers. They were the first ones when we discovered flying reindeer out in the wild. They were the ones that went and herded them all up together and brought them and trained them how to pull the sleigh because they're just so good with animals. You can have head of kitchen, head of, whatever. All of my Santa suits are made by an elf named Ermenlinda. She is a fabulous seamstress. So just kind of write down names, write down personalities of these folks. Boris says, I got asked by a child what the name of their elf on a shelf was. I took what you said about Swedish Chef. Yes, Swedish. When all else fails, when you want to talk about elves, talk like the Swedish Chef Muppet. Hernda Hursten Vernden Burden, Herdom Berndish Verdi Verdi Versky. What is my name? Herlofjishern. That's not my name. Well, it's what we call you in Elvish, and that's my version of improv, like Michael and Michael were talking about on the Kringle Brothers last night. When all else fails, Swedish Chef. Especially when you're going to start talking about elves. What's my elf's name? Swedish Chef. What's my name? You don't know? Swedish Chef. And you just tell them that's your name in Elvish. That's what all the elves call you. How about you remind me of your English name? I can't remember right now. All I can remember is Elvish. So it always helps to, and you know what? Maybe someday you'll find you've written down enough stories. You do want to write a book, and that's cool too. But you're never going to be short of stories to tell. It might feel like you are. My problem is I'm always short of, I like props a lot, and I like to have things to show. I always have problems with that. And the reason I like props when I go out on a visit is it gives something, gives children something to look at. I'm never short on stories to tell though. And I'll give you another example of anything can be a story. I was at a farmer's market. Or a craft show. That's what it was. It wasn't really a farmer's market. It was a craft show. And there was a woman there selling various items, but on her business card, I happened to notice she was also a yoga instructor. And I went, "Oh, yoga, I've been I'm not super good at all the stretching and everything. I try to take good care of myself. In fact, this big belt I've got on, do you know what this big belt is for?" And the woman's like, "No." And I go, "Well, posture, of course. I got to take care of my back, you know, which is, by the way, again, based on anything can be a story. If you ever turn on the Olympics and watch those people lifting the weights, they've got big old belts on around their waist, and it's to keep their core stable and their back straight. And Santa does a lot of climbing up and down chimneys. Santa does a lot of lifting heavy toys and heavy bags full of toys. That belt doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you just look at a picture of a guy wearing a big belt over his jacket, but it makes a lot of sense when you realize that that belt is actually helping Santa not have a bad back and so and again, these are stories for any situation. I wouldn't necessarily tell a kid my belt is on there to keep, to a kid it's just a nice big shiny looking belt, although how many people now are carrying things on their belt, pouches, keys, everything like that? Guess what? You're Batman now. If you're Santa with a belt, you've got a utility belt on. Your belt is now your utility belt. You got a pouch on there. It's got candy canes in it. You got a key hanging off of there. You've got maybe a pocket watch on there. You've got that's Santa's utility belt. You are Batman now. So if you want to tell a kid, "Hey, you want to know why I wear all this stuff?" The same reason Batman has all this stuff. I need to be able to reach all this stuff. This is my utility belt. But you go up to an adult, you happen to be somewhere where you know that person is a fitness person or a yoga instructor or whatever. Oh, actually, I wear it. So you can even talk to adults. You can have stories to tell to adults. You can get in a situation, if you're working at a restaurant or if you are at like a breakfast with Santa or everything and there's adults around and somebody says, "Oh, hey, Santa," one of the parents, "Hey, Santa, how's it going?" You could have business stories to tell about the North Pole. Well, uh, we are a little bit behind on doll production this year. Linda, she's in charge of the sewing department. She tells me that actually we are going to have to borrow some elves from other departments to come to the sewing department to come over and pick up the slack on making some of these doll dresses this year. But don't worry, we're going to be all set up on time. Again, if you have a name of an elf and what they do in your pocket, you've got a story to tell. You've got the name of lots of elves and stories to tell in your pocket. There you go. So anyway, I want to go back over. I know I talk very fast. I don't mean to, I just do. So start from a place of just why this? Why Santa? Why do you eat so many cookies? Santa, why do you live at the North Pole? Santa, how'd you meet Mrs. Claus? These are all things you can start using to think about your character. So that's thing number one. That's an excellent starting point. You will come up with some great backstory stuff that way, some great character stuff that way, and great stories to tell when you are out, in anywhere that you might be, even if you're, like I said, at a breakfast with Santa, if you are at a home visit, you can come up with a lot of material this way. And if you're having some trouble, it always helps to consume stuff unrelated to Santa and Christmas. We all have to know some basic character stuff from a lot of the movies and TV shows kids watch every year. We all kind of have that backstory in common, which is all important stuff to know. But start looking into other places. I showed you two superhero shows and movies that I got ideas from. So you could be watching TV or a movie or whatever and see something and go, "Oh, I could use that. That gives me a good idea." And I'm going to just give you this helps me. It may help all of you. Go take a nice walk. You don't have to go for a long walk. Like I said, I work for the Postal Service. I walk 6 hours a day by myself with nothing to, but if you're having a kind of a creative thing, just take a nice stroll outside. Listen to birds, listen to kids playing, anything like that, and just think about, kind of, okay, I've got this elf and they do this. Maybe, I remember this, I talked about kids and grandkids. I remember this story about my kid. I remember this story about my grandkid. All of a sudden, you've gone for a nice walk with, nothing else bothering you. You've put some pieces together where you have a great story. And I'll just tell you another one for myself. And again, it's putting things together from your own life. Kids ask me a lot, "Where's Mrs. Claus?" Well, let's see. My wife loves to garden. We have a great big vegetable garden out here. At the North Pole, let's see. There's no dirt, so we can't necessarily. Oh, we have greenhouses at the North Pole. Yes, that's it. We have greenhouses. We can grow. The sun is up for about, 5, 6 straight months a year. The sun is out. We've got a long, long growing season. I got it. Santa, where's Mrs. Claus? Well, at the North Pole, Mrs. Claus is actually in the greenhouses. We have greenhouses at the North Pole. Have you ever seen a greenhouse? It's a big building with clear roofs for growing plants in. It's real warm inside. And Mrs. Claus loves vegetable gardening. She loves it. She loves getting in there and digging in the dirt with her hands. And she loves pulling weeds. And actually, right now, where she is out there in the greenhouse right now, making sure we have enough squash for Christmas dinner. She's out there picking squash. She's counting them all. She's making sure that and all that is just stuff from connection. Think about my own wife. Think about she likes gardening. No dirt at the North Pole. Greenhouses. Wife gardening. Mrs. Claus is in the greenhouse. She is gardening. She's making sure we have enough squash and potatoes. Yes, Louise. It's Louise, right? Pardon me. I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Louis or Louise?
Lewis.
Louis. Okay, Louis.
Yes. Not to interrupt or anything.
That's all right.
But I got something that can be a backstory. You see this
Okay.
ring right here?
Yeah.
Her that can fit on my middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met at a Santa Claus at Macy's.
Mhm.
He's 1 December. And he had a finger ring, a ring on his finger, and I asked him, where'd you get that ring? Hink,
Mhm.
hink, 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 hink. And he answered this ring, hink, 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 is basically he the source of my powers.
Mhm.
Here's. And I added the ring of immortality.
Mhm. There you go. Like you said, you just pulling right out of you met somebody else, you had an idea and came up with it, and there you go. That could be yours for as long as you do this job, or your ring could do something else. My ring, actually, that story I didn't come up with myself, is Steve Gillum's idea. Probably most of you know it. The idea that my ring is it allows me to speak the language of wherever I am at the time. So I'm here in Vermont, and you speak English, and therefore I can speak English to you right now. If I take it off, I only speak Elvish. If you take it off, you only speak Elvish, let me know. Again, Swedish chef. So take my ring off, speak like the Swedish chef. So, um, yes. There's Kenny. Hello, Kenny. Oh, he's not on there yet. I just wanted to bid him hello since he is coming in. Hello there, Kenny. Welcome, welcome. And I see Vic there down at the bottom. Hello, Vic. Yeah. Anybody have anything that, like I said, I know I've been speaking kind of quickly. If there's anything you'd like me to kind of go back over, anything I haven't said yet that you're curious about, that kind of thing. Okay. Well then, I suppose in that case, Kevin, I see your hand up there. I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself.
I was just wondering, where is your book available at?
Oh, it is on Amazon and on barnesandnoble.com. Supposedly it's available on target.com. I haven't checked there yet. I self-published it. Shawn's got one right there. She got hers directly from me when I was at Red Suit Conclave. I almost said Jingle Joy. I was at Red Suit Conclave. Yes. So I'll just tell you real quick about writing that. Another good source of story material is history. I read a boatload of books and articles to write my book. If you want Christmas related material, read, oh shoot, I don't have mine here. It's Santa Claus Worldwide by Dan German with a G, I believe his last name is German. I'll I'll double check on that. That is one. The print in that book is dense. The print is tiny. It is jam-packed full of history, but you can get a lot of good stories out of that book. That is, good stories that are actual real history. So if you want some good stories to tell, there are some right in that book. For example, there is an entire section in that book about, the time that Christmas was illegal. Christmas was illegal in England. Christmas was illegal in Scotland. Christmas was illegal in the very first colony in Massachusetts. So there's that in there. There's a lot of good history in that book about pre-Santa Claus figures that kind of led to Santa Claus that you could maybe pull some stories from. That is a great source of information if you are ever looking for any stories to tell that are real world, that are educational, and that are also pretty interesting. And you could make them more fun. You could, put yourself in it's a history book. It is written in a history perspective, but you could put yourself in those historical situations, oh, did you know that once upon a time in England, I'll get to you in just a second, Shawn. I do see your hand is raised, but did you know that once upon a time, in England, Christmas was illegal? I had to stop going to England for years. I missed it so much, so there's that. Message from our sponsor, Spangle the Clown. Sorry, I'm going to take a quick break here from our sponsor, Spangle the Clown. There is a GoFundMe on his page to get a Santa's daughter overseas for training. If you donate to the GoFundMe and let him know via Facebook Messenger, he will give you 15% off his entire stuffforsanta.com page. So head over to Spangle the Clown's Facebook page, check out that GoFundMe, and you could get a pretty sweet discount on some really good stuff by donating to this Santa's GoFundMe. And now over to Shawn, who has her hand raised. What's up, Shawn?
I just wanted to add to your stories, what I do.
Sure. Absolutely.
Whenever I'm at thrift stores or antiquing, I pick up pretty much every book I can find on Christmas for cheap.
Yeah.
It's good for the budget. But I've come across some really, like this one is Parents Magazine. It's got some really good stuff in it. But I mean, these are just like $1 or something at thrift stores. And if you just go, I've found things I've never heard of by going through these old books. It kind of gets you ready for the season too. For me personally, because I spend some time just sitting quietly looking through these books, learning the stories, because a lot of that is repeated when I'm talking with the children. Some of these stories come through and it helps with the backstory, and you don't even realize it, but you're like, okay, that's perfect for what I need to be saying right now. So
absolutely. And
I just wanted to, because it's a cheap way to do it, and it's fun, and you're always looking for the coolest book you can find on Christmas. So
yeah, absolutely. And like I say, when I keep mentioning, and I'm about to drop in the chat, everybody, a link to that book I was talking about, Santa Claus Worldwide, History of St. Nicholas and Gift Bringers. I posted a link to it in the chat in case anybody's interested in that book. But yeah, to Shawn's point, a couple of years ago, my parents were cleaning out their house. They had a big flood in their basement. They were trying to get, stuff out of there, and they found a box that had not been destroyed because it was a plastic tote. It was full of kids' books from when I was very young, and a bunch of them were Christmas books. And one of the books I got is a book called The Littlest Elf, and it's just a little short kids book. It's a great little book. I don't even read that book anymore. I bought myself a little stuffed elf. I just tell that story straight out. Now, obviously I didn't create that story, but if you're in the market for just looking for stories and the idea again of something can come from anywhere, I just tell The Littlest Elf now. I bring my little stuffed elf with me. I pull him out and I go, this is my buddy Alistair. Well, actually, this isn't Alistair. This is a stuffed toy of Alistair, but this is what he looks like. Do you want to hear about him? Yeah, okay. And then I go into that whole story. But yeah, thrift stores, books on Christmas, books not about Christmas. Think about here's a fun one I came up with this year for the very first time. Because this year was a leap year, right? And I thought to myself, well, what does Santa Claus do with a whole extra day in the year? And it came to me that what Santa Claus does with a whole extra day in his year, you know how you see an awful lot of art of Santa Claus on vacation? Well, in my world, Santa Claus is too busy to go on vacation because he's got a lot of work to do. But once every 4 years, Santa's got a whole extra day to take off and do whatever he wants. So Santa started February 29th, all the way down in Australia, where he went to the beach for a little while. It's winter in Australia in February, it's summer in February in Australia. So he got to spend a nice warm day at the beach. You see a lot of pictures of Santa dressed up in his That's what he did. So he went there. It was first thing in the morning, and he does the same thing he does on Christmas Eve. He goes around the whole world. After that, oh, well, Santa really felt like going to China and checking out the Great Wall of China. So he went for a nice long walk along the Great Wall of China. Then he felt like having lunch. So he went over to Italy and he had some wonderful pasta over in Italy. He jumped on up over across the ocean. He spent part of the day in New York City because Santa loves to go to New York City and walk along 34th Street because he loves Miracle on 34th Street. Went to Macy's. Then he went all the way down to Texas for lunch, went all the way to Texas. He wanted to check out a rodeo. Then he finished his day all the way up over in California. He wanted to have some fresh seafood right along the bay in San Diego, right along the bay in San Diego. Went and had some fresh seafood, went all the way home. That's how Santa spent his vacation, all in one day. I came up with that this year because I just got to thinking about, man, leap year. What would be a fun Christmas Santa related thing to talk about for Santa gets a whole extra day in his year? And I decided Santa, that's when he took his vacation. So, just ideas from anywhere. So just always be, and, like I said, it also helps to not always be thinking about this stuff. It always helps to have your own. And then if you're not always thinking about it, when you're not thinking about it, that's when it'll pop into your head. That's when all your best ideas will happen. All my best ideas, I find, come to me when I'm just enjoying my own life. There are comedians that there's very, I want to say, oh shoot, I can't remember who it was, but there was a comedian who said, I know a comedian has stopped being funny when they have nothing to talk about but being a comedian. They have done nothing but live being a comedian and not gone out in the world and found other things to talk about besides airports and restaurants and hotels, because all they do is travel around the country through airports, restaurants, and hotels. They have nothing else to talk about and they stop being funny. If I know I know I make all my best material and I can be my funniest when I am out there doing other things not related to comedy. I know I can come up with all my best ideas when I am thinking about things other than being Santa. Then when those ideas come to me, then I can shift into Santa mode and think about those things and write them down, maybe spend a whole day at work walking around thinking for 6 hours about it while I'm out there on my mail route bored to tears because I'm just reading addresses and stuffing the letters in the mailbox, you know? But so, you know, if you like to fish, go out there fishing. Maybe all of a sudden Santa's a fisherman. Maybe he goes up there and he drills a hole in the polar ice cap and he pulls up some fun stuff out of there. Get a whole story out of that. You know, if you love to bake or cook, if you love to spend time in the kitchen, all of a sudden, maybe Mrs. Claus isn't the one that's in the kitchen all the time. Mrs. Claus has to have some other stuff to do besides be in the kitchen all the time anyway, but maybe Santa cook. I cook. My wife cooks as well, but she doesn't like to. I enjoy cooking. Guess who does most of the cooking in the Claus household? Santa. Santa likes cooking. So, you know, oh, I see somebody up here also likes cooking. Paul. Paul likes cooking. Guess what, Paul? You can tell all kinds of stories about the North Pole kitchen now. You've got plenty to come up with where you can tell North Pole kitchen stories, you know, and then, you know, you can look next to you, say, honey, what, you know, think about what your wife likes to do. All of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of Mrs. Claus stories that don't involve Mrs. Claus being just a kitchen homemaker. Oh, you know, I tried out a new recipe for the elves the other day. Oh boy, it went pretty bad. You know, and all of a sudden you've got a funny story. Oh boy, it went pretty bad. I thought this dill would go over really well. I like dill, and the elves kind of like to. Oh boy, I put way too much. You know, whatever you come up with, all of a sudden you got kitchen stories for telling that you can come up with. For it's so, and at this point, I know I'm kind of going over all the same stuff that I did at the beginning. I'm mostly doing it because I know that there's some folks that jumped in late, and I kind of want them to be able to catch up a little bit. But I also just I believe in all of you. I believe in all of your creativity. I really do. Like I said, way back when I started this meeting, you're all creative folks already. You're already performing, you're already telling stories, and you can come up with your own. Just, you know, you just got to put a little thinking into it, write some of them down, practice them, you know, make sure you really got those details in your mind, and you'll be all set to go. Lewis.
Not to interrupt you again, but
It's all right.
have you seen Rise of the Guardians?
I have.
Who played Santa Claus in that movie?
That one was Alec Baldwin.
Yes, poor Alec Baldwin.
Yes, good movie though. More good ideas can come out. Not a lot of kids have seen that one, but there's some good. It's kind of hard to come by. It's like only for rent on Amazon right now, I think. It's not like widely available, so maybe a bunch of kids haven't seen it yet, but it's worth checking out. You can get some other stories about that one.
Well, do you remember the nesting doll scene?
Yes. Yep.
This is how you see me, no? Big, tall, intimidating. But when you get to know me a bit more, I am. Come on, say the line.
Playful.
You
It's
mean
playful, right?
You
I
mean
haven't seen
jolly,
it.
jolly.
That's it. Jolly. I haven't seen it in a little while. I've only seen it once, I believe. So.
Also,
All right.
the
Anyway.
Baldwin version and describes Santa like a nesting doll.
Yes.
It's
a good scene.
Take out the layers, hers to its smallest, his doll, and you get eyes of wonder.
Yes. Not to be confused with ogres who are like onions who also have layers. Shrek. Anyway, I have now talked for quite a bit, going on just about an hour. I hopefully have given you all some things to think about, some starting points. There, Boris jokingly asked me earlier, would there be any homework? The only homework for you guys is to go out there, have a great season, and hopefully use some of the skills, some of the ideas that I've kind of shared with you tonight. I really hope that all of you really got something out of this. Like I said, I know I talk a lot. I've gone on quite a bit. But I really do think all of you have the ability to do this. And I especially think it's really important because, like I said, all I see all the time is people asking, what do I do to the kids? Or what do I do with the kids? What do I do for the kids? What do I say to the kids? What are good stories to tell? I see this in the Santa groups all the time. And all I want to say all the time is, make stories, come up with stories, invent stories. There are lots of stories. There's nothing wrong with using other people's stories. I use other people's stories too, but especially if you are seeing the same kids every year, you don't necessarily want to have the same stories for those kids every year, and you can come up with your own, and you can have a lot of fun doing it. Creating this stuff is actually a lot of fun, and it's really fulfilling. So I really, really appreciate y'all listening to me go on and on and on. And at this point, I have been doing this for about an hour. So I think I'm going to turn this meeting over to the next part of the meeting. Our very own, our very wonderful Shawn White. Take it away, Shawn.
Thank you, Matt. I want to say hello, everybody. Thank you to Matt because he was such a good sport at the Red Suit Conclave. He's a very good. You were a very good actor.
Thank you. Just for those who don't know, Mel was supposed to present at the Red Suit Conclave about designer beards, and she had COVID. And I said, she was, we were talking via Facebook, and she was expressing to me that she was upset she wouldn't be at Red Suit Conclave. She was supposed to teach. And I said, Mel, I could teach your class. And she goes, wait, really? Could you do that? And I said, oh yeah. And then I realized, wait a minute. I think everybody there but me is gonna have their own natural beard. What in the world am I gonna say to a bunch of people with their own beards about designer beards? And I came up with it, and the basic plot, just for anybody who may not know, is that you may have your own beard now, but you might need a designer beard at some point for medical reasons or work reasons or bleaching accident reasons, and you probably should at least get a little bit familiar with them and where to get them and what the best ones are. Anyway, sorry,
And
Shawn.
you did a really good job
Thank
with
you.
that. It was very interesting watching you put the whole set on. Plus, what I was going to say is you acted as a child when we were doing improv, and you did an awesome job.
That's right, I did.
We had the whole room rolling. It was so funny. Great time. Thank you, Matt. Hello, everyone. I am Shawn White, aka Mrs. Claus Vintage. If I haven't met you, I do see quite a few people I do know on here, which is awesome. I have been doing Mrs. Claus for about 10 years, doing it professionally. I've got a background on stage and musicals, and a lot of public speaking in my background. And now I'm starting to branch off and do a little bit of teaching, which is super enjoyable for me. Making lots of friends. That's part of why I like doing this show, is to kind of connect to all the people I've met from all kinds of places at the Santa schools or in my travels, basically. So as the years go on and the shows go on, there'll be new people from all over, new faces. And it's just such a good thing to be learning from each other, because there's not a time that I haven't learned from a conversation I've had. And of course, I do love meeting new people. So tonight was kind of a spur of the moment getting this show going. I see the Tooth Fairy is here. She's one of my favorites from Dallas.
John, you're muted.
Okay. Thinking about what I wanted to do tonight, and I've been doing a lot of classes, and I teach on Worldwide Santa Claus Network with Ed Taylor. Fabulous, fabulous person and schooling. If that's something you choose to do, I will say kudos to that. But tonight I just wanted to have some discussion. It seems like we're kind of at a pivotal point for this season. Starting to get excited. I am. Things are starting to happen. Employers are starting to call me. And I keep seeing this all over. Contracts are coming back. Money's being paid. Dates are being filled. So, and it looks like we got more coming in. So tonight I just wanted to, I've got some questions. I did go make a little outline. I want to know how everybody's feeling about the season approaches, as it approaches. How are you feeling? I'm getting excited. Anybody want to give their 2 cents or tell us how you're feeling?
I'm ready.
Okay, go, Matt.
No, I'm ready. I feel
You're
good.
ready?
Yeah, I am. I've got a lot, as everybody knows, Christmas season is very short this year between Thanksgiving
Yes.
and Christmas. I've already filled or nearly filled every Sunday between Christmas and Thanksgiving. All of my big returning customers from last year in terms of the big events I do already have picked their spots for this year. I put it out on my social media literally starting in July. Like, guys, Christmas is short this year. Please get in touch now. It'll make everything easier for you. It'll make everything easier for me.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss out on your spot this year, especially since I personally, just because I work for the Postal Service, I have such limited availability.
Yeah, I bet that's hard.
Yeah. But I know I feel great. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Awesome. I know that I'm starting the first weekend in November this year. I'm going to be doing pictures in October. I'm going to do a photo shoot for the first time with Mrs. Claus in November. And then Zoom meetings are happening next month with my biggest employer, and to lay down the groundwork for all of that. And if this weather gets snowy, like they're saying, I might be just kind of living in Ohio for the month of December, I'm thinking, because that scares me. But so yeah, the big stuff's making plans. They're reaching out and I'm excited. So I'm just gonna Jeff Wirtz, how are you feeling about this season?
I'm excited. See, I got my Children's Wonderland t-shirt on tonight.
Awesome.
That's our big gig that Shawn and I do here in suburb of Toledo, Sylvania, Ohio. And we've had contact a little bit with the employer there, so they're kind of getting excited. So we're kudos to that. Plus, when I go to class, and actually at the conclave where I met some really nice people and refamiliarized myself with some others, I come back and people ask, what did you learn? So I said, well, hang on, let me show you here what I did. And I said, I'm sorry, I get too carried away with it, and they can feel the excitement, and I just want to talk about it, but it's a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. Shawn, I'm looking forward to working with you those events and some new creativity things that we could hopefully do in Wonderland this year. And one thing that they allow us to do is be creative. They give us the place, the people, the atmosphere, and they just say, go do it. What do you want to do? We'll give you a little bit of guidelines that we'd like, and you guys just make it happen. So
I feel like after September, it's going to be hit the ground running for October, because we're going to Charles Howard.
yeah.
There's a few of us on here. I see Charlie's on here. He's going. Mel, I'm not sure. There you go.
Kenny
Santa
is
Kevin's
going. He's on
going.
here.
Somebody, I know. There you go. Frank. Hello, Frank. So that's getting exciting, but I think that once October gets here, we really start putting our stories together and really they start becoming real. Pictures are starting, we're taking pictures, figuring out what we're going to use to show children. So I'm really excited about that. Like, it's just like the whole month of October is creativity, like insanely.
I don't know if you
So,
saw those pictures last night with Ken and I at the Mud Hens game, and those are some pictures I think we're gonna use this year, because you never know where Santa's gonna show up throughout the year there.
that's a good idea. I will show you folks something real quick. This is not what I want to take over this with, but what we're talking about all year long, we take pictures whenever we can, and like at the different schools or the reindeer farm, or when we go to Charles Howard and there's, I don't even know who this Santa is, but I took a picture of him and he's got coal behind him. So that comes in handy. But that's what we're going to be. This kind of stuff is what we start working on in October for the children. And plus I need new ones. Just like Matt said, we got to up the ante a little bit for the kids that are coming back, because they're smart and they know. So we got to show them all the things we've been doing and up to. How about my tooth fairy, the spirited fairy? How are you excited?
Hello, yes, it's actually National Tooth Fairy Day, in case anyone did not know that. But speaking Santa, I'm very excited about the season, and I'm going to be on the train for a lot of it. There's a stage show. We're going to start rehearsing in September. So that's going to be a big part of my Mrs. Claus season. And in addition to that, I'm doing parties and other events with a variety of different Santas. So I'm so excited.
So you got the job with the Polar Express, right?
Yeah, it's called the North Pole Express. I don't know if
Okay.
that's because of,
Yeah.
but,
Okay.
but yeah, it's gonna
Congratulations. That
through.
is so
Thank
cool.
you. Yeah, it was a good audition, and I'm lots and lots of fun. So I'm very excited about that. And it's more, what'll be great is just the variety between doing that and then getting a chance to do just, the other things like corporate events and kids parties. And then my girls and I are starting a volunteer thing where my middle child is a stilter, and she is going to be on stilts with the Christmas tree.
Wow.
And my littlest is going to be an elf. And so we have an event booked at an arts center for their volunteer reception, and it'll give them a chance to perform too. So excited about that.
I love that. I was just talking with someone about they were going to be signing back up for their gig that they do every year with a corporate type situation. And he was asking, he said, do you think I should keep doing this and then try to do my other stuff? And personally, I said yes, because I think the more well-rounded we are, the better we're going to be. So to keep the little jobs going. If you got the big job, and that's what I do with Jeff, but I still have a ton of stuff I do around here. So
I think it's right to get it. And I had kind of talked to you before even getting the train, because, we give each other a lot of support. But that's one of the things that we talked about, I think, is that you don't have to really limit yourself. It's just good to grow. And if you've never done a train or any of those bigger experiences, I think it only will help grow. But
oh yeah,
I'm excited.
I am so excited for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and happy Tooth Fairy Day.
Thank you. Thank you all.
How about Chris? How are you doing, Santa Chris? One of my sweet friends. Are you getting excited? What's going on?
Oh, I'm very excited. I've got some new things this year. One of the events that I did for the last couple years, they've decided to raise the level a little bit. Instead of just Santa sitting in his chair, and they're going to have a Santa's Village and give me the opportunity to tell stories and interact more with the kids. So that'll be fun. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Is Mrs. Claus going to be with you, or
I am working on that one. For the last 2 years, she hasn't been, but she's coming to more and more events. So we're hoping that continues.
Yeah. She's come a long way. I can definitely see her going with you.
Oh, so much fun. It's so much more fun when she's there.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
bet.
and she gets to be my spy. She gets all kinds of information and relays it back to me, and tells me if there's an elf out there that I gotta watch for, and all kinds of fun things.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know that Jeff and I are doing our boss. We just heard a little word of it that in Ohio that she wants us to do story time together this year as a ticket that people purchase.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna we did it last year, just filling in time.
Yep.
We gathered all the children from the Donuts with Santa and Mrs. Claus, brought them to the front of the complex and sat with them and told stories. And then
Okay.
she has just brought up that she wants us to do it and sell the tickets for that this year. So we're I guess, yeah, we're doing new stuff that we haven't even heard about yet. So
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, that's great. The other thing is I'm getting the opportunity to work with one of the city's downtown development authority to help set up Santa's area. How make recommendations and that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, this is going to be a great year.
And that makes sense to ask you what you would need. It's too bad more of them don't really realize that.
Yeah, it's been a real evolution over the last couple of years with them.
That's good.
So I told them, hey, I'd be willing to come to one of your meetings, and the downtown development authority meetings, and we can discuss. I can fill you in on more more that Santa can offer.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So anybody else have anything exciting coming up? Are you excited? Anybody want to? How about Phineas, my favorite elf?
I don't know. Our season's been pretty much booked from October through to January. At this point, we were done in February booking weekends because we reached out to our corporate clients pretty much in February after we sent them our thank you cards and wished them a happy new year. What I'm looking forward to is being able to integrate some of the stuff that I've learned over the past few months and the people that I've met and interacted with over the past couple of months and gotten to know, and integrating new ideas and getting to play a little more.
Are you going to be using the puppets? Have you figured that out yet?
The puppets will be used during our Facebook lives.
I see.
Primarily, everybody who has met the bear and the Yeti have discovered what absolute beasts they are. Actually, physically, they're quite imposing.
Yeah.
The Yeti is 4 feet tall, and the bear is 3'6". So they are a lot of big, bold characters. So
Wow.
but I do use if anybody saw the Monday with Randall that I did a couple of weeks ago, I often use the Baby Yeti by Folk Manus and also the Baby Reindeer by Folk Manus, particularly when I'm doing hospital work or senior citizens homes or other areas where I'm going to run into shy people or people who are put barriers up, and it's usually good to break the ice.
Nice.
So
nice. You've already started though, haven't you? Your season right now?
We've already,
or something?
we did pictures in July with one of our photographers. We've done a Christmas on the beach, Summer Santa on the beach, which was just pure chaos and fun because we had the family that we were doing, and there was also a biker gathering and all the big bearded biker dudes.
Oh my.
Pictures taken with an older big bearded dude. So that was really fun. And then this Saturday, we're going to be doing a live story time on Facebook Live at 2 p.m. Eastern on Holiday Magic with Santa and Phineas. Ding.
Nice.
And I'm also one of the churches that I volunteer at. They do a Christmas in August, and it actually falls on August the 25th this year. So Phineas will be giving the children's lesson at the church this Sunday.
Nice.
So
It's nice. Well, thank you, Mike. Anyone, I see, I thought there was another hand up. Brent? Do you have your hand up? I think you do. Brent Williams? Maybe not. Okay. I thought I saw another. Santa Dave. Hello, Santa Dave. I didn't even see you. How are you?
You.
So how
I'm
are you
doing
getting
well.
excited? You had some beautiful pictures. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
You're beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, we had a shoot. The studio wasn't air conditioned and it was really hot and humid. It was great.
Oh boy.
We had a few little models that were a little bit afraid of Santa, but we,
Aw,
as usual, worked out for that problem. We've got a shoot coming up in a couple of weeks at Farmington Hills,
nice.
high rent district. We've got a lot of shoots coming up throughout the year. Stocking giveaway with a church in Stockbridge. It's
Okay.
usually a sleigh ride or a carriage ride, and it's usually colder than the
So you're doing it with
the
a church, not are you doing the Festival of Lights or the?
well, they stick me in the township hall
Okay.
when the festival of lights, so they have two Santas. So I deal with all the kids, and then when the parade starts, I've got to sneak out the back door so the kids don't see two
Yeah.
Santas.
They should put you in the sleigh in the parade. I'm just saying.
Well,
Makes no sense.
I do a lot of free stuff. So
Are you going to be at the Waterloo Museum this year?
yes,
Good.
as always.
Nice.
So I do a lot of autistic children work.
Is Libby
So
going to be out there with you at this stuff?
some of them, she's
Some.
trying to break her of her shyness, but
Ah, you look beautiful with him. You should do it,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you.
You guys have magic, or that those pictures wouldn't turn out so nice with the kids and stuff. I mean, there's something there, special for sure.
well, thank you.
It's true. Okay. Oh, Mel, hello.
Hi. First time viewer, long time fan.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. No, it's really awesome just kind of sitting here watching, not clicking buttons. And so I'm blessed that I'm fully booked this year. I have a couple weeknights free, but I did book my longstanding event at TPC Southwind in Memphis, Tennessee, and John Mark's Floors in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm taking Erica as my Mrs. Claus down there, so should be interesting. It'll be fun, and then we're totally booked around Battle Creek, and all the way up to Grand Waters. I just booked a gig in Grand Waters, which is pretty far. So, but we're excited. A lot of repeat clients, and even my tattoo shop booked me. So
good for you.
still
That's
got room
wonderful.
for Ann Arbor if you want to hang out. So
Oh, you did get one in Ann Arbor. Good.
no, I still have room
Oh.
if you want to hang out.
Oh, okay. I'm
But,
still working on that one.
Yeah, no, we're well, I keep saying we're, I'm so used to saying we're, but we're booked and I'm booked, and yeah, definitely getting to a Santa. But yeah, it's been because it's such a short season, I'm finding people are booking sooner this year. You
Yeah.
know, I'm sure I'll get those couple calls on like Thanksgiving that they need a Santa, and unfortunately by then it's too late. But
That's when it's going to be crazy with the dates missing and they realize it.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
But well, I hope
Very tough.
everyone's ramping up for their seasons, and thank you for letting me comment. You guys are awesome tonight. So I'll
Thank
talk
you
to
for
guys
everything,
later.
Mal. Appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure.
Tammy Weaver, how are you? You have your hand up? Maybe not. Okay, she didn't. Anybody else? I will move on. Let's see. No. Okay, let's see what else we were gonna.
I didn't have my hand up, but I'm pretty
Okay.
excited.
Are ya?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of new Santas. I've been calling and getting new Santas to get in, so our group size has increased. So I'm excited about that. We've been having monthly meetings trying to train people or do things so that the Santas learn more things. So I'm on the educational part of that. So that's pretty exciting. And I do have a couple of things booked already for November, December. So this being my third year, I'm pretty excited that every year it
Yeah.
gets a little more. So yeah, just pretty excited about it all.
I don't know about everybody else, but I remember when I first started and hearing people say, I'm already booked in all the season and it's only like July. And I thought, holy crap, they must be like so good. Now I understand though that the people just grab a hold of you and don't let you go if they like you, basically. And that's the repeat right there. But I'll never forget that though, because I would always think that when I go to Charles Howard, I felt like I was with the big dogs or something because they would all talk about that, which was very cool, actually.
But I have some really good Santas that, they kind of tell the customers, hey, how about having Mrs. Claus? And this is what she could do for you. Or they have them call me and I sell them on what Mrs. Claus needs can do for them. And they're like, oh my goodness, that's things I would have had to do. So yes. So I'm pretty lucky that I work with a lot of different Santas that they are trying to get Mrs. Claus in there too. So
yeah,
I appreciate my Santas.
Yes. And I appreciate you doing that for the Mrs. Clauses of the world. Thank you very much. Frank Fields, hello.
Hello. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited and I'm nervous a little bit. This is my first year going beyond family and friends. So I signed up with Nationwide and been contacted by them. So I'm going to be doing the big sporting goods store in Chesterfield. On Sundays, I'm going to be doing that. And I got a few other things. We did a parade in July for the El Bologna Festival. So just like I said, a little bit nervous. I don't know what to expect at the big sporting goods store that we're not supposed to mention. So I've never done nothing like that, outside of, like I said, just family and friends. So see what happens. I'm learning a lot this year, listening a lot to Matt Spaulding. Obviously I listened to you and him on the one of the podcasts. Also with Mel and
jump on Worldwide Santa Claus Network. He even has free.
Yep, I'm part of that. I did my just got my certificate from there. So
good for you.
Just joining MAP. So it's overwhelming. I'm learning so much this year, so.
And the box store that you're talking about, I think that's so good. I mean, number one, you're taking the greatest step by educating yourself. That's tremendous.
I hope so.
Choice on your part.
I'm like, okay,
all of this stuff.
I'm not good at sitting for long periods of time. So I'm like, okay,
you'll probably
try it out.
You'll be so busy with everything that's coming at you and going around that
I'm starting right in the beginning of November. So I'm November 3rd. I'm like, okay, let's start out and let's see how it goes. So
yeah, it'll be a great experience because you're going to learn so many different things for one season that will help you for whatever.
Yeah, I signed up for Thanksgiving morning too. So.
Oh wow, good for you. That's exciting. You'll have to keep us all posted on how your year's going and post stuff on Facebook and keep us up.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yep. Like I said, I'm Blue Water Santa, so I do have, like I said, some of my standing clients for Christmas Eve and stuff like that. So
where are you at? What state? Is it Michigan?
I'm in Michigan. Yeah, I'm in St. Clair. Up near Port Huron.
Okay.
Yeah, when I say St. Clair, everybody thinks Shores. It's not St. Clair Shores. I'm up towards St. Clair.
Okay.
In St. Clair County.
Well, awesome. You're going to have a great season. I just know it. I can feel it.
I hope so.
Does anybody else have? Charlie, how are you doing? I'm just gonna pick on everybody, I guess.
I'm doing good. I've got my usual Santa train on every weekend between Thanksgiving and Christmas. 2 tree lightings day before and day after Thanksgiving. I got some previous clients that have come back on board, and I got a new one, Cookies with Santa at a pediatric dentistry clinic.
Oh.
So I'm assuming they're sugar-free cookies, but
Thank you for all the mic help at the conclave too with me and
oh, no,
hooking me
no
up with all
problem.
that. I appreciated it. I might be looking, getting a hold of you for some more help for guidance when I buy a mic or whatever I end up doing for this season. So,
Okay. Yep, just let me know.
okay, I appreciate you. Okay, let me get on to some. How are we preparing for the upcoming season? I want to show you something that I just bought. Okay, let's frame it a little better than that. I go to the school every year, and I had the teachers on last show I had. If you were here, it was pretty awesome. Every year I have homemade little bags made, and I put crayons in them. So this is how I prepared today. I'm not making the homemade bags. That would be my cousin Melinda. I don't know if she's on here. She sews for me. So she's wonderful like that. But today, and this might be something if you're doing giveaways for children, this year they're getting the big packs. Look at that, 50 cents each. So, because school supplies are going on clearance at the stores. So I highly recommend doing this if you're getting anything to give away to the kids. Right now you can clean up at Meijer, Walmart, whatever. So I bought enough of these for each child in the classroom. Something else for photo shoots, 4th of July, bells. Super cheap at Michael's, and somebody said they got them at Walmart too. Take the ribbons off them. These are going to be beautiful in the big pine trees. So that's the plan. I'll tear them apart and put them back together, and then have the kids decorate. And I've talked about senses, and you want the children's senses to be touched so they remember you. Well, they're going to hear these, they're going to touch them, they're going to see them. So just a thought. Has anybody else bought any cool props, or are they working on that kind of thing? Lewis?
Yes, I bought one. I bought this at a Goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
A handbell. It works too.
See, I think my story with that would be like, I would have to ring it like cookies are made, they're fresh in the oven, so the elves could hear me, and then they could tell Santa that was out in the barn, or some story like that. That's how I would.
I also bought this mead horn.
Okay.
This would go for a costume for the Ghost of Christmas Present.
You're right.
You know the Ghost of Christmas Present from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol?
Yep, I do, with the long, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's perfect. I would have never thought about that. You're right.
Which can be an alternative to Santa Claus.
Yep. And people do that. I see that.
They do?
I do. I've seen pictures of all kinds of versions of Santa. Definitely.
And Odin.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go on to something else here. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a photo shoot. This is another thing I bought. Big ones for the tree. So right now, secret, my daughter's getting married next week. So I've been decorating my yard and a whole bunch of lights. So I'm going to have a photo shoot in November because I already have lights and it's going to look like Christmas out there. So that's why I bought all that to use instead of paying top dollar for everything. Anybody else have anything that they're going to be using? Oh,
Well,
yes. Jeff
Something I would,
or who's on? Okay. Tammy. Just a second,
something
Jeff.
I would love to use, but I can't get anybody to take me seriously, is that I happen to be researching, and I'm into a lot of the science of Santa. And one of the things I looked up was the science of Santa, and in the United Kingdom, I think it
You froze up.
I was gonna say, I think we lost Tammy.
Lost her. Darn it. Jeff, we'll go back to Tammy here in a minute.
Okay. This year, you talked about the sense for the kids to remember, not only to visualize, but touch. So this year, for those that went up to
call it
the reindeer
So-
farm up there.
no a patent on it or something like that. That we can't use it, or can we use that song? And I've tried to get a hold of that university, and once in a while when I see some Santa come on that's from the United Kingdom, I ask them that question: is how can I get in touch with them? Because I've emailed and I've texted and everything the university, and I get back one of those robo things that says, we're not here right now, we'll get back with you, or we got your question, we'll get back with you. But no one ever gets back with me, and it's almost been a year that I've been trying to
Where do you want to
figure
use
this
the song at?
I don't know yet, but I think it's so cool because
What's-
it's all about science and
Oh.
Santa, like the theory of relativity and those kind of things. It's just
Oh.
so cool.
I'm not a legal expert here or anything, but I've always heard that if you're not videoing it, you can use it.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to find out. I wish somebody from United Kingdom would help me out here.
I'll pass your name along if I come across somebody. Say, get hold of you. I promise.
Because that's the coolest thing that would be really cool, is to use all that science, especially
Oh,
when I
yeah.
get with middle schoolers. I mean, I already have some posters and we talked about science of Santa's sleigh and those kind of things. So that really helps get the middle schoolers, high schoolers into things. But
I definitely love this. When I had the teachers on here, I love to go in the classroom and contribute to education while I'm there. It's all fun and loving and everything, but they're also learning stuff. So that's a great thing. Thank you,
Right.
Tammy. Jeff.
Yeah, you're talking about the senses, the smell, touch. So this year, as I did last year, which I know several people did at Rooftop Landing, at the reindeer hair, put them in a container. I did last year, put them in a container. I bought it Hobby Lobby for like $1 or so.
Yeah.
And put them in there and open it up, and gonna put a label on this year as which reindeer that is. So the reindeer hair, which is really amazing when you tell them about that, their eyes open up and everybody wants to touch how soft it is. Antlers, real antlers from the
Yep,
reindeer.
I have one too.
Yep. And take a whiff of that. You can really smell the reindeer on that one, can't you?
Yeah, I'm not even doing that.
No, I know. And this is going to be one of the highlights a little bit too, is the headgear, the harness for the reindeer, an actual one from the reindeer farm. So some real live things. I'm going to prep it from the North Pole, bring part of the North Pole with me so the people and the kids can see them, enjoy, touch them,
And they can hold them.
Yes.
And little sister can take it from big brother and touch it
That's
and
right.
hold it, and
That's right.
it'll be wonderful.
I was amazed at the props, how the props really are very effective, and your backstory, as you know, for those is remarkable. And yeah, you and I know we worked together on that, but the backstory and really works good, and we know the backstory.
This is another one that was fun. I'll just throw this
Crossing.
out there. This happened, Matt was talking about when you come across, you make up your stories. I tend to, when I'm alone too and thinking and stuff, stories come up, but also when I see something, this could be when you're having a little retail therapy and you're walking through a store, or you see ornaments, or you're at Bronner's, which I saw this guy and I thought, man, that's like my favorite animal at the zoo is the polar bear. Okay, polar bears they say they're coming extinct, right? Okay, that could be a little education. And then I started really thinking about it. I'm like, I've got to buy that polar bear. I got to come up with a story. And I did. And Jeff, what's his name?
Frosty.
There you go. See, he learned. So he goes along with the story. We told the children that Santa Claus found a little baby polar bear out by the barn, and it was kind of crying and sad, and he brought it into the house, and we loved it, and I loved it. Then he started getting really big, and he had to go outside, and he helps the elves, and the little stories in there we expanded on. But then we said every Christmas when Santa goes to deliver toys, he waits at like a hill outside our house for Santa to come back.
Yeah.
And Santa named him Frosty, and then the kids all giggle. I'm like, can you believe he named him Frosty? And they all giggle, giggle, giggle.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when we're talking about senses with the children, I'll say, have you ever touched a polar bear? I'll show them the pictures in my book of polar bears and talk about this whole story. Ask them if they've ever touched a polar bear. No, they haven't. So I'll pull this out of next to me and I'll say, do you want to touch him? This is Frosty. And they'll touch him. And you'd think they were at the zoo and they just touched a real polar bear. There's oohs and ahs, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's just senses, you know, with the children, that they're touching something, they're seeing pictures. And fun fact is to help a child with a memory that they will remember the most for a memory is smell. I did a little research and learned that. So there is something to smelling like sugar cookies or a pine forest or whatever. It will help the children remember. So just remember that. Okay. Do we
Yeah,
have
I
any?
think polar bears are
Yes.
good.
And what is his name, Santa Kevin?
It's a she.
It's a she. Okay.
This is Nanook.
Nana?
Nanook, which in Alaskan is polar bear.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's
Oh,
pretty nice. Kind of shy, but
does she go with you when you're Santa?
oh yes, of
Oh,
course.
I would have loved that one.
And she stays with Mrs. Claus most of the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
But right now she stays with me.
I love that. Absolutely. So does anybody else do anything along that line with? Okay, somebody wants to know, does she speak, Santa Kevin?
Not too much.
No,
Too much. She whispers.
she whispers. Okay.
Huh.
And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Okay.
Shawn,
Yes.
you were talking about the smell, and I remember the first time I had a little boy turn from talking to me and say to his mother, "Mom, she smells like cookies." And I was like, okay, that's it from now on forever. And I had already started that very early on in my Mrs. Clausing, but Bath and Body Works brown vanilla sugar, whatever that's called.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. And I collect it so that throughout the year so that I have plenty of it at Christmas. And I shower in it. I use the lotion. I use the spritz, everything. Because when he said, "Mom, she smells like cookies," it was like, oh, yep, that's it. So you're right. The smell does make a difference.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to get some of that.
Yeah. Brown vanilla sugar, Bath and Body Works.
Awesome.
You could use that with the key to the cookies cover too, you know, somehow.
Yes, I could. I
And
think.
just for anybody else, Santa Scents is you can find them on Facebook. They do colognes and they do beard balms that are all natural, I believe beeswax, and they have like eggnog scent, peppermint scent, cookie scent, chimney scent, forest scent. They got a lot of scents. Santa Scents. They're also very good.
Nice. The one thing about mint, I have to say, is I'm allergic to mint. And so that kind of scares me a little bit because I don't know if somebody else would be. I put on all of my
course, for being in public, you might want to be careful putting on any kind of scent. But
Yeah.
for all my private gigs, I do have on my pre-visit questionnaire, does anybody have any scent allergies? So that I know not to put any of those things on.
Yeah.
I haven't had anybody answer yes yet, but they are things. My wife, for example, is very, very sensitive to scents and gets watery eyes and very stuffy and everything. So
That's what I was wondering if I could just put some sort of air freshener or something that smelled like cookies close to my chair so I wouldn't actually have to have it on. Since I'm a little weirdo about smells too, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Hello, Bruce. I'm so glad you're here.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Well, this is just I just caught that there was a comment about science or something. There is this really cool book that, of course, Charlie is like, man, like Charlie in a past life, were you like a research librarian? Like, it's just incredible. So the book's called The Physics of Christmas, written by an actual PhD in physics about how the reindeer fly, how Santa does all this stuff. And so, like, you know, like if you're wanting to, Brenda, was it you talking about that?
it was Tammy.
Tammy was.
Tammy, sorry. So it's this really cool book, and you could just totally nerd out on it, and I just love that. And what's kind of funny, I've been commanded that I have to come home to my brother's major birthday this weekend in Winnipeg, and I know all of you are thinking, okay, great, good for you, Bruce. Winnipeg Zoo is the world's research center for polar bears. So thank you for talking about that. Because guess what I'm going to do Monday morning with my Tim Hortons coffee? I'm going to go to the research center and just see what's going on there about polar bears. Because
oh my God, I am so jealous of this.
Nice.
So okay, I will take lots of photos.
Yes.
But as you know, I'm not very successful at taking photos because I kind of like to live in the moment, and I forget to pull out my iPhone. But yeah. So you know, isn't it amazing how we, through that brief contact, you know, and if we just listen to them, and you know, it doesn't matter what age, you know, we hear so many things, their concerns, and it's really amazing living here in Windsor. I never thought that families would be so worried about the polar bears. Because I just thought, well, you know, like we're South Detroit, like, you know, for me, they're like growing up in Winterpeg, there is no winter here. Like, you know, like we're at the same line of latitude as Rome, and all these other cities across Europe and Asia. So like we don't really have much of a winter, but it's really amazing that kids asking, you know, like how is it at the North Pole? Are you okay? Are you safe? It's really exciting.
Wow.
So
what was the author's name?
Charlie, did you get that listed there?
He posted a link in the chat.
Okay, I didn't know. I was listening.
Yeah. I wish I had that book when I was writing my book, Bruce, instead of reading all kinds of articles about quantum physics and string theory, and reading an entire book about how time works. Although it's a very good book. If anybody is interested in how time works, it is called The Order of Time by Carlo Rovelli, and it is fascinating. I'm not 100% sure I understood all of it, but boy, it gave me a lot of ideas about how Santa gets around the world in one night.
The author's name is Roger Highfield.
Right. So.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate
Thanks,
you very
John.
much. I would like to move on here because I wanted to cover a few more things. And time is almost gone. I would like to talk. How do you promote your services during the holiday season? What is everyone doing? I know personally, word of mouth for me and social media to people I don't even know that are on there are saying things to me, which is bizarre, but it works for me. Sometimes I post sheets, like little posters when I'm at the bakery. I'll put it on with a QR on there for people to get a hold of me. Business cards. Pretty much that's it for me. Anybody else? Are you doing any? I know there's Gig Salad, hiresanta.com. Any other?
I got a call today. I was at work. I didn't speak to this woman long, but she identified herself as being from Talk to Santa. And she was basically, I only knew them as a virtual gig. It sounded from like what she was saying, if she was on the level, that they are moving into the booking space, kind of like Hire Santa. But my calendar, I do fine through social media and repeat clients and everything. I didn't need to, but that was a surprise to get that phone call. So I don't know if anybody else will be getting those phone calls or where they got their contact list from, but maybe.
The other thing that I'm personally guilty of is if I sound like I'm married to an attorney, don't I? If I really want a job, I'll go out and get it somehow. I will drive them crazy until they give me that job. So that pretty much happens in my world too. It might take me a couple years, but they break down eventually and they hire me and it all works. And I knew it would. So just saying, don't give up on something too that you want, that you're going after, rather than somebody coming after you, because it takes a lot of both, I think, to make it work. Anybody else? No? Okay. Probably covered it all, I would assume. During the holiday season, this holiday season, how do you handle your social media? What do you even just kind of go off it because you're busy? Do you keep up with it?
I typically post things like in the evening when I get home. If I did something interesting that I happened to get a picture of, like last year, I was at a very beautiful hotel one night for a gig, and on my way out, I kind of took a selfie by their big, beautiful Christmas tree and was just like, Santa stopped by here tonight. And that was kind of my, just something to put up there when I got home. I still, unlike, a lot of Santas, I still end up, I'm in a just kind of a small area. I end up with some holes in my schedule. So I kind of like to see if maybe I can plug in some last minute, and so I was like, Santa was here tonight. Maybe, I still have availability here and here. Like maybe I can come visit you, or
that's a good idea.
That kind of thing.
I will tell you, I was talking to Ken today, and what I've been doing, and I just automatically started doing this, is I get there early. I'm always trying to be there early. I usually have it all set up, so I know what I'm doing. But when I get there, and before the children start coming in, I will do videos, promos basically with the business. And I try to get the business owner in the videos with me. Just giving them some love and showing what a good day it's going to be, and making everybody happy. And then when I do leave, I have pictures of everything that I could take and use with permission, and my videos. So I do it like afterwards, what a great day it was at the bakery or whatever it may be. So I'm constantly marketing crazy with everything I'm doing is going out there, and it seems to be making a difference. So Bruce.
In terms of social media, I'm actually tempted this year to see if I could afford to hire one of my students to do that work for me, or like if you've got like a high school student that you know of, like one of your neighbor's children, because honestly, it's like we get done with the day, and also I kind of wonder like how many photos with these families out in public, and I realize that the legality that a photo taken out in public is public domain, but I always feel kind of weird. Am I supposed to like fog out children's faces? What am I supposed to do with that? But I'm actually thinking about like some of my students at university are just are just like,
I would totally do that if I was
Yeah.
you. I did that in the past for not Mrs. Claus stuff, but I hired photographers to do things. And what a relief. The the weight is off you and you can just do what you do.
And one thing I am gonna experiment with this year, Bruce, just kind of addressing some of your concerns. I have made up some cards that just basically say, "It was so great to see you today. I would really love some pictures of this event to display on my social media and my website. If you would like to post, and if you don't mind me share, basically if you don't mind me sharing some of your photos, please." And I list all my social medias on the bottom of the card, my Instagram, my Facebook, and my website, and in my email, and I just say, basically, please get in touch with me, or tag me in public posts on social media if you do not mind me sharing. And that's something I'm going to experiment with this year, because like you said, a lot of parents rightfully are hesitant about spreading their children's faces on social media. But sometimes if they get pictures with Santa and stuff, they're okay with that. And I am not comfortable just sharing other people's children's
No,
faces.
I usually ask for permission.
Yes, and that's
then
why
I'll say, send me some pictures.
Yes.
But usually they're so thankful that Mrs. Claus wants to use their pictures that there's never really
I've had a lot of trouble the past year. In my follow-up letter for clients does say, please share any photos or videos you took or anything. And I've experimented with, especially for some of my bigger events I'm doing this year, I'm going to carry some of these cards in the pouch on my belt and just hand them to people that I happen to see taking my picture. And that way I put it in their hands to make that decision. So,
yeah,
Go ahead.
and then Shawn, just to answer the other part of the question about, like just about building more business. What I'm finding is that a lot of the large events I'm doing, like especially like community evening visits, holiday symphony concerts, the organizational teams will actually be giving out my contact information to parents who approach them or grandparents saying, how can we contact Santa?
Nice.
And what I've been finding is that I've been getting contacts that way.
Nice. Yeah, I give them my card and then they'll send me stuff over Facebook or tag me is what usually happens for me. And a lot of the times now it's starting to be repeat people too. So they want me to compare with last year and post it and that type of thing. I know one thing that Jeff and I do when we have our last gig for the season, and it's super sad. It's like walking off a stage for the last time of your musical that you've been working so hard on. We always do a video, and we have somebody, his daughter watched us last year say goodbye to the season as we were walking out. And but it was nice. It did closure. I don't know. It looked good.
It was really good. Kind of sad because the end of the season.
It was sad. Dang, it was sad.
It
Santa
was.
Dave.
Yeah, I pretty much let the clients post things. That works out for me. That way I don't get the permission. They do it,
Yeah. It's something when you're like, my kids will be on Facebook or something and find pictures of me with some person of their friends or something. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're with her and her kid. And it's quite funny. So I usually get those pictures sent too. Anybody else? Anything? No? Okay. We have about 6 minutes left. Okay. What are your goals for the season? Does anybody have any real quick goals? Have you thought about it yet? It's about that time. We need to do it before we start. I want to, number one, survive this season. I don't know about you guys. It's going to be crazy. And I always kind of want to triple what I'm making, like money. I'm not gonna lie. I like to make more money, so pays for all this traveling and education and everything. So I'm gonna try to figure out ways, is what I've been working on for that. Bruce.
Well, the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that aren't we a week shorter for this corporate sales season? Because
Yes.
and I was really surprised. It was Easter time that we were trying to celebrate Easter, and I'm getting all these texts about just saying, hey, we just want to contact you tomorrow so we could book. And then I looked at the actual month. I thought, I'm not looking at this calendar right, and it dawned on me, oh no, it's that sixth year again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to be able to honor as many other requests I get. In fact, right now I'm kind of biting my nails, thinking, just how am I balancing my adult life with? Oh no, Tim, seriously, 2025 is the same thing. Oh no.
Yeah, it is.
Oh geez, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to balance my adult life, my home life, which is, I think all of us have to keep in mind, our home life is the most important. I don't want my wife, my best friend, my partner to be a Christmas widow. It's not worth it.
No, that's one of the first things I do though, is I mark off family.
Yep.
That's number one. And then everything else can fall into place. And I make sure to get my volunteer things that I do for the children. Yep. And then kind of go backwards, I guess you could say. But it's going to be crazy. Anybody else? Any goals that anyone set? Lewis.
Well, I have written a few plays that feature Santa Claus as a character. Her, 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 one of which is an adaptation of Babes in Toyland.
Very nice.
And in that version, and there is a Santa Claus in it. In my version of Babes in Toyland, and there is a character known as the Matt the Toy Maker. Who just happens to be who designs and makes the toys for Santa Claus to deliver.
So have you wrote it already, or you're gonna do it? That's a goal.
It's already written.
Okay. Nice.
It has songs in it too.
Nice. Thank you. Charlie, were you gonna add to that?
No, Charlie just said he had to bounce in the chat.
Oh, he had to bounce. Okay.
Yeah. My only goal for this year is to actually make it to all my gigs. My day job is shorthanded right now, and I've done a lot of overtime this year, and my goal this year is to impress upon everyone else in my work that I don't want the overtime. If they could help me out, that would be awesome.
That's
So
nice.
my main goal is I don't want to cancel any gigs.
Yeah. I think my other main goal is to stay on the road and not slip and slide into any kind of snow problem. That's what my fear is. Oh,
but
yikes.
Yeah, beyond that, man, I kind of just going to the same going to the season every year with the same kind of goal.
Yeah.
And my goal is just I just want to make people happy. Like my goal is to be like, man, I just want to be the best I can be for everybody that comes and sees me. It's, kind of a corny thing. It's not like a material.
Not corny at all. No.
Yeah, I maybe not. And I don't feel, it's not material. It's just like I want to go in, I want to do my best, and I want to make sure everybody I see leaves happy. So
There's nothing better in the world than for me after Christmas or during Christmas when the season's over. And I think I couldn't even count how many times I've been hugged by children. There's no count to it. like, it's like a dream thing that could happen for an adult, I think. And no matter what brats my family are, or anybody, kids or whatever, I don't care because I've been hugged by like every kid in the world. So I'm good. Gets me through it. But it is true. It's just a heartwarming, I'm very thankful for that. Okay, last question. What advice would you give to someone just starting out as a holiday performer? I know we've got one. Frank was on here. I'm not sure about everyone else, but what advice would you give to someone that this is their first year? Anybody? Betsy.
I would say go to networking events because that was really helpful for me last season and getting to know other Santas. And I met a bunch of mentors through that. And so I found that to be the most helpful thing to me as a new Claus.
Okay, thank you.
And I got one.
Okay. Go ahead.
If you intend to become a holiday performer, it's worth doing it well.
That's right. That's right. I guess my advice would be, there's lots of things I could say, but get a support group. I've got my friends that I love more than anything that do the same crazy stuff I do, that your family would never understand about this stuff. And those are the people that I'm texting during the season. And, oh my gosh, I have a sore throat. What are you guys doing for sore throats? Oh my gosh, like, what are we going to eat today? What should I eat or whatever? But, our friend Tim in Boston, it was his first day in November of last year. So we were on there, the three of us from Charles Howard, texting him, how'd the day go, or the night before, how you feeling? He was nervous. So that was so exciting to share that with him. So support groups, to text with somebody or message, I highly recommend that.
Which Tim is that? He's not far from me.
Tim in Boston. What's his last name?
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to message me later.
He's a super guy, super cool.
He's not
guy.
far from me, and he could join New England Santa Society. We'll help him
Okay,
out.
awesome. I
Yeah.
will. Santa Dave.
One thing for a new Santa is always leave them with an answer. You can't leave a kid high and dry. I mean, there's always something you got to give them.
Yep.
You just, and it can't be just a dumb look. Always leave them smiling.
Yep. Leave them with something. Because they're not going to give up either.
Yeah.
You don't want them walking away. Yeah, for sure. Anybody else? Any advice?
Santa Jeff's hand is up. He has his virtual hand raised. Santa Jeff.
Santa Jeff.
Oh, this is actually our third year doing it. We're up in Idaho.
Okay.
And like you said, their networking is definitely important. We've got a big Santa group up here. If someone's sick and they can't do an event, they're contacting other Santas to help out. The other thing I like to do is I do not go portraying Santa. I am Santa when I show up. I think the way Santa thinks, the kids are nice and items like that. And that's where you need to get them out of the mindset of portraying somebody, but you are that person when you go to show up.
Mm-hmm. I know when I put the wig on, the rest of the clothes, whatever, I call it a costume because I'm a musical person. But when I put the wig on, I become, that's it. That's what it took. Like I acted with Bruce and Phineas and it just felt so bizarre because I didn't have my wig on and it was hard. So, but yeah, then I become, and I'm not out of character until I take that off and put my winter hat on afterwards is when I am not. Yeah. Anybody else? Santa Vic, hello. Unmute you. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm from Virginia. One of the things I found my first year, after looking at all of my pictures, My advice would be make sure your belt is straight.
Yeah.
I looked at so many pictures after the fact and my belt was crooked and I just felt like I did a disservice. So my second year, a lot of my pictures, my hands were on my belt. It became subconscious just to
And
make sure that it was straight.
Yeah, and that's actually a great piece of advice. I had a friend say to me just last season actually. It was only his like first real year doing it, and he even saw a bunch of pictures and went, "How hard is it for people to keep their buckles straight? It's such a small thing, but every time I see a picture of somebody with their buckle crooked, it drives me crazy."
You know, that's a benefit of having a Mrs. Claus around or an elf.
Yeah.
They'll keep you in line.
Well, and you know what, just to jump in on this, one of the things I've learned is that it's okay for us to, like, if we're doing an event someplace that there's volunteers helping usher in guests and so forth, is to also ask them, could you let me know when my belt is out of place, or
yes,
I look disheveled, or the angle of my cap is wrong, or anything, you know. And at first, you know, newer people will kind of look at you and think, what are you talking about? And then once, you know, like they're like, I do a parade here for one of the townships, and the organizers now know, oh, this is what he's looking for, and this, you know, and these are the photos that we then use next year to advertise for the event. But in terms of advice, you know, and please don't laugh about me saying this, because all of you who know me, my biggest goal as Santa is to talk less and listen more.
Yeah. Because
You know,
everybody wants to be heard.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just I want to bounce off. If I'm going for advice, I just want to bounce off some of our appearance discussion that we've had, bounce off the crooked belt comment, and just say my bit of advice is, like, if it's your first year and you're in the groups and you know lots of Santas because you've been trying to get educated, you're gonna see some folks with like the most gorgeous Santa suits, Mrs. Claus outfits, whatever. And start where you're at. You don't have to buy the most expensive suit, but you do need to look presentable. You can't have the crooked belt. You can't have the boot toppers. Like, your suit can be a little low quality, but at least buy some slightly better looking boots, because I think the boot toppers look sloppy. Just don't look sloppy. Look presentable. You can be in a cheap suit and still look just absolutely presentable and magical, and and you'll look good, and other performers that are around will look good. That way they won't think of a sloppy Santa when they think of you or a Santa performer.
Thank you, Matt. Another real quick is, if you're just starting out, make sure at your appearances that you're at that you get pictures of without the children in them. Have somebody, when you first get there, take pictures. Afterwards, you're going to use those for the next year for promo somewhere. So don't forget about pictures. That's very important. If you haven't went to a photographer yet, this is going to at least get you going with the pictures for advertising.
I see Chris's
That was
hand is up.
actually, oh, sorry. That was actually the advice that I got from Jackie Chamberlain when I started doing this and met her at Santa Nana's, was she said, anytime you're in costume, make sure that you take pictures. And that, I'm glad I listened to that, because when I started, I didn't have a lot of disposable income to put into photography, but I wanted to have, so I had friends who had really good cameras, and every event I had some taken, so.
Yes, it's so important. And don't get so caught up in it that you forget to do pictures or have somebody do them. Definitely. Chris. Where's Chris?
Oh, there we go. I think
There
I
you
was
go.
muted. Smile big, because I don't know how many times I think I'm smiling and I see a picture later and it's like, you can't really tell under the fur that I've got a smile. You got to smile bigger than you bigger than you normally would.
Smile with your eyes.
That's right.
Not
Your
your
whole
mouth,
your
your
whole
eyes.
face has to smile.
Yep, because that'll bring that mouth open and you'll show, it'll, open it up so you don't look so mean.
Yep. And
Because I kind of have to tell another person on here named Jeff Wirtz sometimes, smile with your eyes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that. So
It helps. It helps. Takes the focus off it. Brenda.
Yeah, back to we're talking about the costuming and that sort of thing. My biggest thing of advice though, first of all, is to jump into that character, be that person and embrace it fully. When the kids ask you questions, say whatever comes to mind. I mean, you can do a backstory, but they're going to ask you questions that you didn't have in your backstory, and so just go with it. Just be that person and answer the way they would. My very first time in Mrs. Claus, I've been a clown over 40 years and in Mrs. Claus over 30 years.
Wow.
And my very first time in Mrs. Claus, I did it for my friend's daughter's kindergarten class. And she said, "Could you do Mrs. Claus?" And I was like, sure. Okay, I'll do anything once. And so I did, and we didn't have a costume, and I didn't rent anything because good Lord, that was 30 years ago. And we didn't have many rental places that had Mrs. Claus costumes, but she had a red poodle skirt and I had a red turtleneck and I had a shawl that I had crocheted and I had a wig that I had bought, and different things. We put it all together. We had to take the poodle off of the poodle skirt, obviously. And so we put on a Christmas decoration that somebody had crocheted and it had bells on it and it covered the space. Well, one of the kids asked me, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was, this is my first time. And one of the kids asked me, "Why do you have bells on your skirt?" And in my brain and out my mouth in the same moment in time, I said, "Well, I live at the North Pole where we have reindeers that can fly. And if you sneak up on one of them, they could be all the way to Connecticut before you catch them." So everybody at the North Pole wears bells so that
I like that.
you're coming. So then when I actually had costumes made, every one of them has bells on the skirt. Not annoying bells, but little tiny bells around the skirt so that I can jingle them every once in a while and remind
I
them.
absolutely love that story.
So you never know, I mean, even your inexpensive costumes, go with the flow, be the person, be that character, and it'll grow from there. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bruce.
And some of you are probably tired of hearing this out of me, but from my background and from what I've done in my life, starting rehearsals and having the costumers have our footwear there ready for us. For me, the footwear is what dictates who that person is, and there is something about about Santa's boots, about the heel, about the weight of the boots, like how do you walk in a knee boot, because it's very different than wearing a flip-flop. And I think for all of us it's it's that it's those little things, and and just the style of clothing or costuming also dictates what our posture is. And so it's those little things that really affect who we are. And so it's that I think is really important. And again, just as what Matt has said, if you're starting off, do not listen to all the sales pitches. Your face is what the children and the families see. Look put together well, but you don't need to be spending $5,000 US on the most ultimate set of clothes. Concentrate on your face. And again, as what you're all talking about, and Chris, thank you for mentioning this. That smiling with your eyes, just that is so important. We want our belts perfectly centered, we want our buttons right, but you know what, it's the eyes that they see sparkle. It's the eyes and people talk about the eyes as being the windows of the soul. Well, it really is. So just some ideas there.
Thank you, Bruce. Now, I heard you a while ago before August, talk about the shoes. So I don't know if you noticed, but in August, when we were at the conclave, I had my boots on, my Mrs. Claus boots the whole time I had to teach and stuff because
And how'd that
I
feel?
heard Bruce say that and it made sense and it did feel
Canva
like
allows you
Mrs.
to go
Claus.
in and adjust images now.
So I
And
appreciate
Canva
that.
also has its own
I
AI
don't know
tool
who's talking.
on the painter.
Okay, I think guys, we went past 9 o'clock. So if anybody else has any big questions or anything, I think we're gonna call this good on the meeting. I appreciate everyone that you were
I
here.
promise to work on
Really.
my smile this year, okay? I'm really working on
Smile with your eyes, Jess. Smile with your eyes.
that. I know.
You're doing much better, I gotta say. So, I will send out another promo next show that I have. I'm not sure when that's going to be at this point. I kind of wanted to take a little bit of September off before it gets really crazy in life, but we'll see. Maybe not. So it was nice checking in with everybody because I am excited about this season and we had a lot to talk about with really nothing planned. So it worked out. So I will say adios and have the nice rest of the summer, you guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Thanks
Bye.
for coming.
Bye.
Thank